The name's Bond. James Bond.
No. I am your
fathers, brothers, nephews.
Why so serious?
Cousin's former roommate.
I am vengeance. I am the night. I am.
Matt the Man here on another episode of our podcast. Today we have 3 topics we're going to go talk about that came out this week. First one has to deal with some sad news, bad news, depending on your view. Gina Coronado has been fired from The Mandalorian. Once again, a Disney Plus show owned by Disney. Zack, do you have any thoughts on the matter?
Yeah, there's a lot that's surrounding this and everything else. You know, we're not getting into politics.
No.
You know, our own political thoughts are our own, but that's not what this show is about. So looking at this from a real kind of story aspect.
Well, first of all, who does Gina Coronado play in The Mandalorian?
Cara Dune is who she plays as. She's a ex-Rebel Alliance kind of shock trooper, which is supposed to be like one of the kind of main frontline specialty units, is what it is. So that's storyline-wise of what her character was.
And Gina Carano's been around for about, I want to say, 10 years in the acting community. Mm-hmm. She started out in 2011 Haywire, Steven Soderbergh film. Then she was also in the first Deadpool. And now, you know, she's in The Mandalorian. So, we're not going to get into politics here, but basically she sent out some social media tweets on Twitter or whatever social media platform she was on, and she got fired. Now, my thing is, once again, why do we fire people for social media posts? To me, that is stupid. Yeah. Either we're not going into what the topic is or what they discussed. It's just overall, you know, it's been happening a lot with actors in general, from Kevin Hart did it a couple years ago, and something came up on his Twitter that he put on like back in 2009 when Twitter was just starting out. And, you know, 10 years later, it pops back up and people are going nuts over it. And they were trying to, you know, fire Kevin Hart on stuff. And then the guy from The Flash, the one who is kind of goofy, you know, the elongated guy.
Oh, yes. I forget him.
He got fired from The Flash for, once again, some tweets he put out like 10 years ago. And, you know, now he's not on The Flash anymore. I mean, once again, to me it's like, why are you firing these people? It's a tweet. You don't know what kind of state they were in. You don't know where they were. Heck, you don't even know if someone grabbed their phone, typed it in on their own, and posted it under their name, in a way. You really don't. Yeah, it's out there, but at the end of the day, you don't know any circumstances of how that tweet got out. And not only that, when it's a tweet, you don't know if they're joking. You don't know if they're just, because obviously you're not in their face in person.
Yeah, text is not a good thing to get inflection. You can't get inflection for stuff. That's why emojis were created, to try and give inflection to your speech.
I mean, I think, especially if you completely end someone's career almost on that. Like I said, this is different from the Me Too stuff where you have actors or people, women coming out and saying, so-and-so did this to me. You know, and then obviously backing that up with proof. That's a whole different matter. You know, that's something you can actually have evidence of and, you know, is more serious than just, oh, they sent out a tweet. And the producer in the studio is like, I don't like it. Fire them.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of a really tough thing because it was just going like, for whatever it was. And the problem is that if you say that, okay, they fired her because the studio believes that she said some bad things on social media, other people that they still have under contract have said even worse. So it's like, there's people in Lucasfilms who have said vile things to fans who are just like saying like, oh, I liked The Mandalorian, and they said, oh, well, you didn't like the sequel trilogy, so we hate you and hope that you die. Like, that's legit things that have happened. So it's like, there are people, it's, without going into the politics of this stuff, it's really messy of what this is. And I think the biggest thing that we need to go and do is, can we stop, like, can celebrities go back to being, worthless? Like, in a sense, like, people should not look up to a celebrity. Sorry, like, can we go back to that?
Unless they did something major
if they
outside of acting.
Yeah, if they go and save, like, a kid from a burning building, sure, they're a hero, and that you can look up to them. But to look up to basically something that's been created by a media company to do something, I mean, it's like, can we, like, I very much want to go back to the time when I did not know or nor care who was behind the role of whatever film or TV show I was in, because guess what? They're their own people. They live their own lives. Their characters on screen are not who they are in person. They shouldn't. They're people going to work. Their work just happens to be then put out for mass consumption.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's like, the media and, people in general shine this light on these celebrities. And it's like, listen, everybody has something they said or wrote somewhere in their life. You can't hide it. But the difference is, you're just a regular person, so no one's going to really, go after, find something on you that's going to be like, oh my God, they said this. But
at least so far.
Yeah, so far. But, I mean, then
we can really, let's take the Monty Python joke. The Spanish Inquisition. No one expected the Spanish Inquisition. It's going like, no one expected this crud of whatever this is.
I mean, I think like that at the end of the day, everyone has something they've said or done or wrote that, especially now in today's environment with social media and Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever, text message, whatever Facebook message, you probably wrote something to someone. Maybe you didn't realize at the time what you said, but it's out there. And you know what? It happens. We're people, we're humans, and celebrities are not anything different.
Yeah.
They have a job. You go to your job. I mean, I work with a lot of people. I don't know what they do outside of that, those four walls. I don't know what they do. But when I'm there, they're just, servers or managers.
You're right.
So it's like, who cares what these celebrities say outside of them on the screen? That's their life. That's their opinion. That's their own identity.
Yeah, if she was fired because, she was a terrible actress, then it's going like, okay, fine. But that wasn't. This is not like, I'm a very merit-based type of personality. It's going like, if someone does good and they're the best person should get the job. No questions asked. No other options. If you are the best person, then you should get the job. You should get the money. You should get the fame. You should get the glory. You should get everything. But, when you're legitimately doing stuff for clearly political reasons and what it was, and the people that have gone after her and everything else, it's just going like, this is nothing. They've been the campaign to try and get Gina Coronado fired has been going on for months and months, and it's just like, and basically Disney, it really feels that Disney got to a point where they go like, okay, we've had enough, we can, fired, just that way we can stop this.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, it sets a precedent for it, but it's like, like I said, everyone has something that they're not too proud of somewhere in their life.
Yeah.
And if you were able to get that information, and we're like, hey, we're humans. We all have our moments.
Yeah, and besides the fact that she was fired from Disney, she's also already been hired. She has signed on with the Daily Wire, which is a conservative platform, and she will be producing and starring in a movie that she is basically building from the ground up. So, good for her. Never feel good about someone losing their jobs.
No, but, one thing, it's just a comment that, you might want to think about some days about, sending tweets, sending social media, good, bad, how will down the road affect you or not. And really, I think, once again, I think personally, you shouldn't take it as anything but, okay, they said something. Wow. That doesn't mean they're that way in real life. That could be just how they felt at the moment, the topic. You don't know, also don't know the discussion they were having, when this stuff comes out. And then the media can flip it a little bit, and there you go.
Yep.
So, that's about all on that topic today. We're going to move on to talk about the Wizard of Oz remake. Nicole Castle has been hired to direct this new Wizard of Oz remake. Now, a couple of weeks ago, we talked about remakes, certain movies you shouldn't remake. What do you think about the Wizard of Oz?
I don't know. Like, I just expect it to flop and fail.
It's been 82 years.
Yeah. But they've also then done the Oz
Yeah, they've
stuff.
done sequels, and they just had back in 2013. They said they had Oz the Great and Powerful with James Franco, Michelle Williams, Rachel Weisz, and Mila Kunis in that film. Directed by Sam Raimi, the director of the Spider-Man trilogy, Tobey Maguire, and currently directing the new Doctor Strange movie. And I liked that film. I was actually surprised by how good that was. Yeah, I enjoyed that.
Instead of remaking The Wizard of Oz, why not do, especially since this director had done some stuff on Lovecraft and stuff like that, it's like, why not make Wicked? Like, Wicked is a great play.
Well, they are making
I understand, but just going why do we care to make Wizard of Oz? Why not just focus everything on making Wicked?
I mean, once again, The Wizard of Oz is the one, when we talk about remakes that are, or movies that are untouchable to be remade, you think of, The Godfather, you think of Jaws, someone even saying the original Star Wars trilogy.
I would absolutely say that original trilogy. The fact that you just birthed that idea of remaking the original Star Wars trilogy into the world, legitimately, I might die if that happens.
I even think, Back to the Future. You could, I know there's been whispers of a remake of that with Tom Holland playing Marty, but, I even feel like if you do a remake of even, a Back to the Future, you have to change a lot of things.
Yeah, we already know what happens in 2015.
Well, not only that, but you can't have the incest like you do in that movie.
Oh, God.
And they're really going to have to change something like that. No, the mother does not have the hots for the son. That would not go well in 2021. In our current climate. And we just talked about Gina Coronado stuff.
Oh, God.
So, yeah, Wizard of Oz, that started, like I said, we just had the movie Judy with Renee Zellweger, who won her Oscar last year, playing Judy Garland. That was her role. That's the role that made her a star. It was between her and Shirley Temple. And Judy got it. Or Dorothy. So, that would be a casting that will be you got some really good red ruby, what is it again?
Ruby slippers.
Ruby slippers to fill. You got some mighty big ruby slippers to fill for that role. And I don't even know who they would get. Wizard of Oz is owned by MGM. So, if it was a Disney property, I could see one or two people right off the bat that they would be looking at. Like I just mentioned in our Last of Us discussion, Mackenzie Foy. She's done a few movies with Disney. She has the look, and if she can sing, then, they can easily get her.
Yeah, thinking more about this now, I would probably, for me, The Wizard of Oz is not, some grand movie of where, to me, it's such, I don't have it, and it's not going to be on my, shelf, on my trophy shelf or something to showcase what's going on.
It's a classic, we
right, and that's the thing, is
it's when we talked about our movies last week about our football movie that we grew up with, it's kind of like one of those, every generation has grown up with Wizard of Oz.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the other thing, and it was sort of monumental at the time with the black and white and then the color. You know, it was, you know, and it had its scary moments and fun moments. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if they're gonna do a straight up remake. I mean, it says remake in the headline, but who knows? They might be like, you know what? No, we're not gonna do it. Maybe they'll do some sort of hybrid sequel remake kind of thing. But remaking the entire movie or the original movie, that would be, I don't know. And then casting the three, you know, the Scarecrow, the Lion, the Tin Man. That could be an interesting trio right there. And then the Witch, which like I said, they had Mila Kunis as the witch, or a witch in the Oz movie.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay. I don't know. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, I would probably have to. I will be cautiously hoping for the best for them. Not even cautiously optimistic. I will be cautiously hoping that they don't screw it up. Because if they screw it up, a lot of careers could be ruined. Like, this is one of the things where I think this is one of the movies where it's just going like, so you're remaking this? It's kind of like you're going to have, like, you're probably, if I went up to my grandparents or my mom and my dad and I said, hey, they're going to remake The Wizard of Oz, they're all going to look at me and say, over my dead body. Like, that's just as, like, to them, it is an iconic movie. For me, it's not. But for them, it is. So it's like, you're going to have a lot of pressure on the cast and everything. Because, like, whatever it is, and if it flops, it could destroy careers.
Well, I mean, before we wrap this up on this topic, and once again, do you go with the unknown actress for the role, or do you go with someone who's somewhat familiar to play it safe? You know, that's a whole nother, you know, toss in the dice type of scenario. Unknown or known? I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I was kind of shocked to see this news this week. Because like this, like, it'd be like them saying, oh, we're remaking The Godfather. I think everybody on planet Earth would laugh. You're like, no.
Yeah, no, you're not.
No. Good luck trying to find, you know, Michael Corleone or, you know, Don Corleone. Good luck. Have fun with that one.
Yeah, that
has to be like the perfect casting. Because if you don't cast that perfectly, it's over. It's done. So yeah, we'll see what happens down the road with this supposedly remake for now. And we're going to move on to our final topic today. And our final topic today deals with the Dungeons and Dragons movie that they're working on. I think the guys who did Game Plan, the movie with Jason Bateman and Rachel McAdams, are working on this film. They already cast Chris Pine. That came out about a month ago or so. Now they've added 2 more actors to the list. Michelle Rodriguez from the Fast and Furious movies, who played Letty, and Justice Smith, who was recently in the Pokemon Detective Pikachu movie as the main lead, and he was also in the last Jurassic World movie, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. So, Dungeons and Dragons. Kind of funny enough, another movie that has already been done before.
Yeah.
Came out in the early 2000s. Like 2000. So, not well liked, not well received.
By anyone.
I think Jeremy Irons was in that movie, and that's the only thing I remember.
Yeah. I can't even, until you said that, I was going like, I didn't even remember that there was one. That's how terribly received it was. Now, this is all going to be a thing. You know, Dungeons & Dragons tabletop RPG. That's what it is. That's what it will be even after this. But the big thing is kind of like how they are going to adapt it. Is it going to be, you know, get all the characters and they're like, and they're doing kind of the thing where it's like they're actually playing the characters. Kind of like almost like a Jumanji type of one, like one of the recent Jumanji ones, where you have the kids and then you have like them playing the game of what it is. I mean, it could be that. I don't think that's where it lies, where strengths lie in there. I think the best way to kind of look at this and probably go for this is to take it like a Lord of the Rings type of thing. There's a ton of lore around Dungeons and Dragons. There's a bunch of stuff that you could do, and
Well, look at
taking
Lord of the
stuff.
Rings, look at Game of Thrones.
Right, and
Yeah.
I think if they take it more as like, here's a fantasy property that we're turning into a movie franchise, and what we're doing, I think that's going to be a thing. A lot of the problems that some video game movies get, or just game movies get, is kind of like they start to get too close into the actual. You need a certain distance from the actual property, which is you can play the game a certain way. Like, you can play Dungeons and Dragons, like, really strictly. Or you can be really goofy and, shoot fireballs at people, like, in the actual, in playing the game. Or it's like, when playing Dungeons and Dragons, like, you roll, you create an action, you do the action, you roll for effectiveness, and all that stuff. And that could be like, oh, you're facing a giant monster, and your thing is, well, I want to look at the blade of grass that's 10 feet behind him. You could have someone just messing around doing stupid stuff like that. If, they don't do that part of the aspect of it, but they actually just take it, okay, here's a fantasy setting, because there's a lot of stuff that's really deep in there to try and go with, the entire Baldur's Gate franchise, and kind of more lore out of that could really be an interesting thing to set forward and kind of move with. In that Dungeons and Dragons field, there's a lot that they could do with that, and they could create their own Lord of the Rings-esque type of movie. And there's enough there that someone like me, I don't really know that much. I've played some video games, did it like once or twice, but I know more of the fact of like kind of the mechanics of the actual game.
All right, let's move on from the game. What do you think about the cast so far?
Yeah, I think they're all good actors and actresses. I mean, it all depends on what they're going to do with them. And there's so much that they could do with them that it's just going like, until they say like, oh, we're doing this, like, until they come out and say Chris Pine is like one of the many races that they're doing, or like trying to give us more plot details, it's all up in the air of what it could be. It could be a train wreck, or it could be something good. You don't know, because there's not, like, the plot that they could be going with is so out there. So it's kind of really hard to paste it up or down for what they're trying to shoot for.
Alright, yeah, I have no idea. I don't think I've ever played the game. Like I said, I've seen the movie. Trying to forget about the movie. Because that came out too around that, right before it came out right before that peak of fantasy films. Before Lord of the Rings, before Harry Potter. So you gotta wonder if it maybe came out a couple of years later, if it might have been a bigger hit. Maybe not as quality-wise, but as in terms of making money. Where it might have, they might have said, okay, we screwed up on the first one, let's do better on the second one. Well, at least we made our money.
Yeah.
I mean... But then again, they went on to do, like, after the Lord of the Rings and the Harry Potter peak, they had, like, Aragon. That was supposed to be that was another dragon movie that didn't work out.
Yeah.
After one movie, even though they were trying to plan, like, almost like another series, like a Harry Potter. So, who knows, it might have not worked out anyway. So it'll be interesting if now, 21 years later, at least, that's 21 years later now, depending on when the movie actually comes out, it might be 22 years later, if there's still a fan base that are going to rush out and go see another Dungeons and Dragons.
Well, there will be for the people who play the game, but just like, I really do think that the way that they need to market this is basically they need to market this as, a fantasy movie, and use the lore of that's already there from Dungeons and Dragons to kind of bolster up the stuff. So that way you're not trying to, and you're not trying to write a Lord of the Rings from the ground up. Mm-hmm. You already have stuff from the Lord of the Rings, and you're making the Lord of the Rings movie. You're doing something like that. So, in all honesty, this is basically it's a fantasy property that they have a lot of base material from, that they can then create the movie that they have. And they don't have to go around and saying, oh, this is, we want to have a race that is, heavy on magic, but everyone hates them. It's like, well, okay, there's already all that kind of infrastructure to help build the story there. It's kind of more just plopping, fill almost like Mad Libs, kind of, with this. There's so much there that you kind of just need to fill in the blank with what you want to do with it.
Yeah, like I said, we'll see what happens. We'll see what other actors get cast in the movie. Obviously, I'm sure there's going to be more than just 3. And, we'll see what different route they take that didn't work in the first movie, that they maybe learned something from and said, let's try something different.
And always remember to like, comment, subscribe wherever you are. The podcast is available wherever you want to get your podcast. If we are not there, let us know, and we will get there. Remember to like our Facebook page, Attack Bat Productions. Thanks for listening, everyone.